Hello and welcome to another episode of Two Barks Tales, My Adventures in Learning. I'm your learning guide, Stan Scrabbit. In this episode of Two Barks Tales, I'm going to introduce you to a podcast that I think is pretty cool. Tell you about my new telephone operations, how I've kind of rearranged all my telephone works. Kind of show you a new feature of how to grab a calendar item from your Google Mail. Talk about how to schedule your mail so you can send it on a later date. And then also I haven't ever seen it before, but it's called Click to Tweet. So putting a capability for somebody to send a tweet right from your message. So let's get started. First thing I want to talk about is this, I think, pretty cool podcast. It's by John Lee Dumas. It's called Entrepreneur on Fire. Basically, it is a lot of inspiration. He has a daily podcast where he talks to entrepreneurs about their challenges, how they were able to succeed, any recommendations they have. He has basically a formula that he works with. He goes through kind of the same questions with each person. But I have scribbled down a lot of cool things because of this particular podcast, and I just kind of want to show. I think he does a great job, right? So like I said, he does a daily one. Here's the latest one. So he kind of introduces this guy, and as you read more about that particular podcast, right, all the time he asks about a success quote. And so here's that quote, a struggle that this entrepreneur had. Basically how, his current business is going and what got him there. And then also some resources, a recommended resource that this individual used, recommended reading, and, links to this. Many different ways of getting to this podcast. You can get through iTunes and Stitcher. Really, I enjoy the heck out of this podcast. It's I set up a number of them as I go to walk my dogs and listen to them. So I think a podcast that if you are entrepreneur minded, you're thinking about starting your own business, you're looking for inspiration to be maybe an internal consultant for where you work, lots of great ideas here. Lots of cool tools that I've managed to pick up. One of the other adventures that I've been on, my learning adventures, is I've kind of gone to Google Voice. So I've basically set up one number that I can be contacted at. And the way Google Voice is, they give you a number, and from that number, you can associate other phones. So I have my home phone, I have my work phone, and I have my cell phone. And when someone calls, it will actually ring all those numbers. But what you're able to do with Google Voice is you can kind of filter that a little bit. So if you have people that primarily call you because of, for example, in my case, Civil Air Patrol, that I can maybe say, don't call me at home, just call me on my cell phone, don't call me at work. Or if I have folks that are related to my work, I can say, just call my work phone at that time. So it's really cool. The fact that it keeps a history lets you know who is called. It allows you to make a call directly from the web page. So if you're doing voice over IP, you can make a call or text them directly. I think is kind of cool. If I wanted to, I could block a caller. Prevent that individual from calling me regardless. I can add notes to a specific call, and basically it just kind of keeps a running log. Is kind of nice. With Google Voice, the other thing that you can do is you can go ahead and set up unique voicemails. So if the individual is associated with Civil Air Patrol, in my case, I can have a unique voicemail for that. If they happen to, for work, I can set one up. And basically, I can organize these individuals into those groupings, and they can get that particular item. The voicemails are quite good, and they do a pretty good job about translating what they hear. So I've been happy with it so far. But it lets me, kind of track placed calls, received calls, missed calls, any spam, trash. Quite happy with it. So I've gone to one number. I have changed all my my email blocks, signature blocks to indicate this one number. That's the number I now hand out. One number, and I'm happy with it. Moving on. Let me find that particular message. What I wanted to show you was in Google, if you get a message that has an address or a date and a time, one of the cool things is you can add that to a calendar. So by selecting that, it allows me to add that information or that message to my calendar. So let's swing over to my calendar, and I'm going to go ahead and edit in my calendar. And so it puts that item on my calendar, what that particular reservation was, what the date and time was, and it also links me back to that source, and I can click back to that source, and it pulls up that particular email with all that message, and there it is, back to my original email with that particular date and time. I think I picked this up from Steve Dotto, one of the other podcasts that I listen to. I think it's just kind of makes it nice and easy, being able to just click on something and get that reservation right into my calendar. So if you didn't know that existed, there you go. Here's another tool that I've been starting to use. Also recommendation from podcast, and I think this one's from Entrepreneur on Fire. It's basically called Boomerang for email, and really the power is you can schedule your emails to be sent later. So if the logic behind it, as they were describing it, is you don't necessarily want to be seen as a workaholic. You don't want, here you're responding to something at 10 o'clock at night, and you don't necessarily want people to know or assume that you will get right back to them, at 10 o'clock at night. So what you can do is you can schedule your email to go out at a later time. And, so if you're answering emails at 10 o'clock at night, you can say send it at 8 o'clock in the morning and be part of the normal flow. So it's, from Boomerang. But, for example, I have this message from Bernadette, and I'm going to reply to her. And what I can do is I can send this later. And I can say send it, tomorrow morning. And, see you tomorrow, right? Or see you later today. That would probably be more appropriate, wouldn't it? See you later today, and I'll send this later. And, I'll send it tomorrow morning. Well, and I accidentally sent a reminder, so let me do that. So I'm going to send it tomorrow morning, and it's going to go ahead and schedule that message to go out tomorrow morning. So message will be sent at 9:27 tomorrow, and that'll be, that'll kind of work for me. So it's a recent feature I just added. Haven't done a lot with it, so I'm still a little rusty on what I need to do. The other nice piece of this is you can go ahead and manage those scheduled messages. So I have a message scheduled to be sent, and I can go ahead and work on that message. So I think it's kind of a cool feature. If you upgrade, you also have additional capabilities. For example, some client relation management tools and other metrics, so you can see if people are opening your mail and what the open click rate is for those kind of things. So that is Boomerang. I think it's a nice feature. And this last one, I've seen this used in a couple different sites, but basically, on a blog post, they may have a bit of text that they would like you to share with other people on Twitter. And so you can go ahead and write that message, and it'll create some code that you would put into that particular web page, and it provides them something that they can click on so they can automatically send it to Twitter. So it's a way of kind of controlling your message a little bit, getting the messages out that you want. Maybe you're trying to promote something, a way of advertising. I think pretty cool tool. So those are the tools that I wanted to show you. I think there's some good stuff in here. Always happy to learn new things and more importantly share them with you. So that's what I have on this week's Two Barks Tales.